I'm not too far from the visitor center in Kejimkujik National Park, and they said the water in the Mercy River is higher than normal. And you can see we're at the point where it's starting to drop. Have some falls and rapids. Incredible. Those are the largest waterfalls in the park. So, as I had pretty much suspected, most of this park is flat. I see a bridge ahead. Have to go over that. This bridge location's new. Used to be further upstream. Beech Grove to the right. Wow, it's really rushing through here. I just walked on this side of the river to get a different view of the waterfall, but the sun's so bright it's not going to show up on video, so I gave up. Heading back. I think this bridge is made out of aluminum. It's pretty dang sweet, whatever it is. Yeah, I think aluminum.
Oh, look how big you are.
This is the path to the petroglyphs. However, you only go there with a ranger guided tour. Stop. Restricted area. So we definitely will not go now. Alright, Saturday morning, I'll be back. I stayed in Kejimkujik National Park in their campground. I have a really nice restroom facility, individual showers and toilet stalls. Weather's been a little weird. It's foggy again today. It was windy yesterday, but the sun finally came out and became a nice day. Came out here last night because we had clear skies and watched the stars. A lot of islands out there. It's pretty. All right, and I came back on Saturday for the ranger guided tour. So the barricade has been moved. We can go back. Jonathan, our guide, said the petroglyphs are 400 to 800 years old. They were left by the Mi'kmaq people, and they don't really understand what all of them mean. You know, some are just educated guesses, such as there's a small handprint with a carving inside that represents a woman and a man. He said, well, maybe that's a family portrait, you know, mom, dad, and a small child. So we're on our way. They're fading. He said 20, 30 years from now they won't exist any longer. They'll have been worn out.
the importance of the slate is that, like, granite is something that takes a lot of work to carve into, and probably really sharp special tools. But slate these were probably done with metal, but they could have also used stone or antlers to do this carving. The third word I'm going to teach you after Gwe, which means hi. Jalasi means find your place. I'm going to teach you Jenny Ja, which means relax. What story are they trying to tell? Why have they drawn this? So, one interpretation could be it's a hunter with a bow and arrow. And in fact, it could be the greatest of all hunters, Glooskap. Have you heard of Glooskap? Some of you had. He's like a demigod in the Mi'kmaq stories. He was a huge man and an important man, and he was actually there when the Creator made the world. But it was kind of like he was encased in stone when the world was first created. Which is not a fun place to be, but when the Creator was making the world, the first thing he did was throw lightning bolts at the earth, starting to carve it and shape it. And the first lightning bolt allowed Glooskap's eyes to see what was happening. And the second lightning bolt freed his ears so he could hear the thunder roaring as the bolts were coming down. And the third was his nose and his mouth, and the lightning bolts kept coming until he was almost free, but his feet were stuck in the rock. And he got to watch all of creation happen. He saw the rivers being built and the mountains thrown up. He saw the oceans. He saw animals being put in the forest. He saw the trees being built. He saw it all happen. There was only one thing missing from the world. People. And that's what the Creator said to Glooskap. Your job is to go and find the people and send them out into the world. And he threw 2 more lightning bolts so Glooskap's feet were free and he could walk. Glooskap set off. Where are the people? So the first thing he did was listen to a pine tree like that one over there, a grandmother, a Gokum. And he heard nothing. So then he went to a big oak tree like this one, and he heard nothing. And he continued like this to a spruce tree, to a fir tree, nothing. But when he got to an ash tree, a beautiful white ash tree, big, massive tree, he listened, and he heard boom, 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 boom. So he stood back with one of those arrows and he pulled it and he shot it at the tree. The tree split open and out walked 7 men. Glooskap said, go forth and find your lands. And now there's still one thing missing. So Glooskap kept looking, kept listening at different trees, heard nothing. How many of you have seen a black ash tree? When you see it, it usually grows in really tough places, like the scratchiest, dirtiest, wettest swamps. It's this little tree, and it has a glow to it, a sort of a golden glow that just sets it apart from all the other trees. And he found a black ash, a pretty big one. And he walked up to it and he heard, bum, 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 bum. So he stood back again with his last arrow and he shot it and the tree split open and out walked 7 women. And the first thing they said, why did you send those 7 men to a women's shop? And then they went, and that's how the people were brought into Mi'kmaq. Glooskap was so tired from all of that work that he came and he laid down here on the shores of Kejimkujik Lake, and he's still here resting today. That's just one story, right? Mm-hmm. And all of these rocks, all of these petroglyphs will have a story.
I'll put our shoes on and now it's time to head out.
Anybody know what kind of trees these are? They're maple. The guys had that figured out. And they're a particular kind. It's red maple. It's the most, we have more red maples than any other kind of tree in Nova Scotia. Red maple is a popular tree because it'll grow anywhere. Look at this one growing in this, we call it a red maple floodplain. Yeah. So sometimes this is pretty dry and you can walk through there. Right now it's fairly flooded, but it can be even more flooded. In the spring, this would all be flooded above where that grass is now. Really? You can paddle through there, yeah. Jeez. And these red maples have really long roots, and they don't mind drought or flooding. They're happy. Yeah. Super resilient tree. Okay, wow. So now we're at the mouth of the Mersey. I mean, this is where the Mersey dumps into Keji. I told you this morning that one of the meanings for the lake is fairy lake. Kejimkujik might mean fairy lake or lake of magic or special place, but another interpretation, a little bit rougher, is that Kejimkujik means the place where it swells, because the river comes down very tightly, it gets here and gets really big. We'll see how big in a bit, but it's 8 kilometers, it's 5 kilometers across and 8 kilometers long. It's a big lake, so the lake You could say the river swells here.
Okay.
But indigenous languages in North America have a lot of humor in them.
Hello.
Is that gonna work?
Should work.
Awesome job.
Have a little diner down here. It's pretty neat. I'm in the Kejimkujik National Park. I came down to see the birch bark canoe being built. However, last weekend was the end of the season for them. But you can see inside to see what it was. Oh well, that would have been cool to see. That little box on the side of the road is the turtles like to come up to the edge of the road because the road retains heat. So they'll dig their nest right there. So the volunteers come out and cover it up, and then after the eggs hatch, they'll come back and set the little turtles free off in the edge of the bush instead of on the edge of the road. And there's quite a few of these here in the park. So I stopped and asked earlier what they were for. turtle nest.